Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video and welcome to round 5 of the F124 driver career mode. Yes, we're back this weekend here for the Shanghai Chinese Grand Prix. Of course, if you missed out on the video that went live yesterday from Japan, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. Of course, we return this weekend with our first sprint of the year. And as we all know, sprint racing is a little bit boring inside this game. It just kind of ruins the weekend, in my opinion. It kind of disrupts the flow. And ultimately, when a mod releases, hopefully soon, that will allow us to remove some of the sprint weekends, then, yeah, hopefully we'll, kind of have them interspersed very lightly throughout the rest of this season. But because of that, and because I really don't want to do them as they're kind of normally set up inside this game, we're going to up the stakes for sprint racing and potentially make them even more dramatic, because this season, sprint qualifyings are going to be one shot only. Yes, hopefully it'll, sort of create a little bit of drama, a little bit of intrigue. The AI can make mistakes on their one-shot quali runs as well on this game, which is quite exciting to see. So hopefully that's going to make things even more dramatic as well. Of course, quickly, I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody for their continued support on the channel. If you're watching this and you aren't already, please do make sure you get yourself subscribed as well for more F124 content. Having a look at the championship, Charles Leclerc able to open up a little bit of a lead last weekend after we were gifted a podium by Lance Stroll, clearly getting screwed over by the game. So we're still 1-2 in the title. We got a 29-point gap back to Verstappen, who had an absolute disaster at Suzuka, so he'll be wanting to come back strong, but we need to try and get a good result, especially as we head into my first ever one-shot quali in this series.
Well, here we go again. Welcome back to Shanghai. Welcome back to qualifying in China. And this is a technical, tricky track. Whoever takes pole is going to deserve it.
So far this season, then, qualifying has been one of our strong points. We've been able to deliver 2 pole positions from the opening 4 Grand Prix. Will we be able to make it our 3rd of the season this weekend when the pressure is at an all-time high? Ultimately, I personally do reckon Formula 1 for sprint qualifying, they need to send people out one by one in reverse championship order. I think it would make it very, very exciting. But obviously, yes, so far this year, Leclerc and I have been able to build up from our qualifying laps in a slightly more effective way than Max Verstappen down at Red Bull has been. So if the Dutchman now is obviously going to be able to deliver over one lap a little bit more competitively, maybe that will be the difference against us down at Ferrari. Of course, we've taken every pole position so far this year, and Charles Leclerc now leading the way as we make our way out towards the end of Sector 2. It could be another one for us here, as we're not far away behind our teammate, less than half a second back, but that can make all the difference as everybody kind of stepping out into the unknown here in qualifying, trying to roll on the power, use plenty of overtake mode as we make our way down the back straight. I mean, yeah, we're not a million miles away from our teammate. In the last couple of races, he has just had the edge over me. Just trying to spot our braking point down in towards the hairpin, just at the 100-meter board. Tip it in, careful of not getting too much rear locking or oversteer on the exit of the corner. It looks like we're still in that fight towards the front, but it is certainly not going to be pole position. Plenty of curb through the final corner, down towards the line. It is P4. Not bad, but not fantastic. Well, there we go. Nobody can touch Ferrari on one lap. Still, no matter what we do with the format, which I guess is good for the team there. We're only just ahead of Perez and Lewis Hamilton, though, so the pressure really did get to me towards the end of that session. Admittedly, yeah, top times are closer than we've seen in the last few rounds. Normally, we've had about 3/10 over the rest of the field, so I think that's a welcome change here. But lining up P4 then, ready for the sprint, we have got our work cut out.
So it is all about speed in today's sprint. Not very many laps and no chance to get ahead on strategy. Who here today has the raw skill to take them to the top? Shanghai International Circuit then is a 16-corner high-speed thrill ride. The long and ever-tightening right-hander at turns 1 and 2 tests the driver's patience, and the flat open to the elements location tests their skill in a crosswind. 2 DRS zones will assist passing, and they're available into turn 1 and down the kilometre-long back straight into turn 14. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's sprint. Fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole. And Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Norris, Mr. Monaco, Perez, Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, Oscar Piastri, Russell, Stroll, Hulkenberg, Gasly, Albon, Ocon, Tsunoda, Sainz, Ricciardo, Joe, Vesti and Ollie Behrman. And with preparations almost complete, let's head trackside for today's sprint. Welcome to the commentary box. I'm Alex Jakes. Alongside me, a real authority on all things motor racing. It's a warm welcome back to Anthony Davidson. So, a sprint race today, and that means lights to flag, no stops. And how is that going to affect the driver behind the wheel?
Absolutely. So for today, there's no pit stop, or shouldn't be a pit stop anyway, if things go right, and you can forget about strategy. You're just driving today as fast as you can, make those overtakes if you need to, and that's what a sprint weekend's all about.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down.
Well, that new one-stop qualifying then might not have ruined Ferrari's pace. A team that it did really screw over, though, was Visa Cash App Racing Bulls, Sainz and Ricciardo, all the way down in what would have knocked them out in Q1, when we've seen one of those cars in every Q3 session so far this year. We know, though, that the soft tires does not work around Shanghai. It's pretty simple. It's going to be mediums right the way throughout this sprint. 10 laps ahead of us, 3 cars from 3 different teams inside the top 3 for the first time since Bahrain. It is 5 red lights. And it is going to be lights out, and away we go there. Max Verstappen off to a lightning getaway straight into the lead of the GP. Both Red Bulls getting away pretty well. Sergio Perez, though, a little bit more boxed in between myself and Lando Norris there, down in towards the first corner. We're going to try and have a look down the inside of the McLaren man and just slot in front as we make our way into the left-hand section of that snail section. But yeah, really, really good start then. Critical that we got right next to our teammate Charles Leclerc off the start here. I'm expecting this to be a weekend in which Verstappen and Leclerc are very, very quick, so we can just try and hang on to their coattails early on, and hopefully this can work out well for us. But yeah, Verstappen, he's had 2 disastrous races early on this year. Barely picked up points in Bahrain, didn't pick up a single point last time out in Suzuka, so he'll know this weekend he needs to come back swinging. Hopefully going to come back for his sake with a Grand Prix victory. But we down at Ferrari know that we need to just continue trying to build up a small lead. I'm sure I sound like a broken record at this point on this game, but we know just how important it is to try and stay in the DRS window of the cars in front. Really lacking that little bit of grip out of the snail section out into the back straight. I'm sure we're about to see Leclerc and Verstappen go wheel to wheel. Look at that, the Dutchman trying to force our teammate right down towards the inside of the circuit. Oh, a little bit of contact between them as we just lock up all 4 tyres slightly as well. Verstappen on the inside, ready for the final corner. It is all coming alive early on in the sprint race as the Dutchman sends it over that curbing. We'll keep hold of the lead. That's going to leave Charles slightly vulnerable to me as we make our way back down towards turn 1 there. And somehow Max had the DRS. Down the inside will go of our teammate. The gloves are off down at Ferrari, but Max Verstappen really trying to instigate, and we move up into P2. Well, I must admit, throughout the entirety of this game so far, and even in previous F1 games as well, I always found for me the best way to extract pace out of a car was by having more downforce than the AI like to run. This Ferrari, though, it doesn't seem to be the case. You can see how much we gain on Verstappen down this back straight. Trying to look around the outside of the Dutchman. If we can hook it up, we'll have the inside ready for the final corner. And for the second time in 4 laps, Max Verstappen wheel to wheel with another driver there. We just back out early. Verstappen hops over the curbs, but that's going to give us the DRS out of the final corner. And from 4th on the grid, we are up into the lead of the race there. Charles Leclerc trying to look around the outside of Verstappen as well. He almost tried to have a look around the outside of myself, as Verstappen again trying to look back down the inside. All 3 of us, I don't know how much time it has been us 3 occupying the top 3 so far this year, as Leclerc will complete the move once again on Max. But we could be in for a ridiculous fight over the course of this campaign. All 3 of us at the top of our game, not willing to give an inch. I think they're both still fighting behind me here, so we've got an opportunity to try and break free, which doesn't happen often in Shanghai. They're still side by side as we head out onto the back straight there, and Lando Norris, Sergio Perez are going to be sensing an opportunity, but out of nowhere, we've got a 1.5 second lead over our teammate. We've just got to run. Well, maybe Lando Norris's return to the podium last weekend was McLaren just remembering that they've actually got quite a decent car in this series. They have lost out both to us and Red Bull slightly in the development race early on this season, but Verstappen desperately trying to defend from Lando Norris. We're trying to keep that Red Bull out of our DRS window here. Oh, that's not going to help us though. Bit of a rear locking. We gather it up quite nicely, but the Dutchman is immediately right back on me. Already worried about the tyres as well. Does not bode well. Well, I guess then as we barrel out onto the back straight once more, just 3 laps to go after this one. The goal now is to lose as few places as we possibly can down this back straight. We know that Red Bull isn't particularly fast. In fact, he's not gaining anything on me. Max Verstappen, I wonder if he's just trying to play the ERS game at the moment. Maybe try and charge up his battery pack a little bit more. But I thought he was going to fly past me there, but apparently not. I guess this will decide then whether last time round we were a bit lucky or whether Max Verstappen simply does not have the straight line speed to keep up with us at the moment. You can see we try and drain a bit of the battery, but we're keeping a little bit in reserve. Max Verstappen with DRS cannot make an impact right now. But again, we know the AI like to use more of it right towards the end of the race. Is Charles Leclerc trying to have a look around the outside of Lando Norris. Norris might be back in this fight, but no, he's not. Leclerc makes it through. Well, last season here, in our Haas car, we battled the Red Bulls for the win. I believe that time around it was Sergio Perez that was the one applying all the pressure to me. But yeah, unfortunately we bottled it down at this final hairpin on the very last lap of the sprint as Verstappen locks up. Oh, Verstappen spin! No! What is that? Verstappen goes for a spin, blocks the road. I don't know who's made it through. We've been hit up the rear by Fernando Alonso, I think that is. Leclerc now to the lead of the Grand Prix. What on earth is that?
Wing damage, but not enough to justify a stop in the remaining laps.
What on earth is that by Max Verstappen, who picks up a 10-second time penalty in the process? I think we've got more cars that are stopped there. I think we've got a roadblock, but of course it's too late for a red flag to come out.
They're retiring from the race.
Fred Vesti seems to be the only one that's properly been destroyed in all of this, but Charles Leclerc, out of nowhere, back to the front of the field as Max Verstappen, drama in the sprint race. Carlos Sainz also out of this race as well there. Loads of cars having to peel in for front wing damage as well, but Leclerc, he got a bit of a lucky break last weekend with Verstappen and I battling. It looks like the same's going to happen again.
Start to feel the effects.
Yeah, we've got to be really, really careful through these S's. I mean, we've still got Perez closing in on me, but I can't believe Verstappen, another mistake in this championship campaign. Of course, we watched him spin out in Bahrain, but here, he just blocked the entire road. I thought loads of cars were going to sneak by. Wasn't ended up quite being the case, but I think, yeah, Leclerc's got away without any damage in all of that. We just could not find a way around the Red Bull, who created a roadblock in the middle of the road. Sergio Perez, we might be vulnerable to an attack by the second Red Bull driver here on the final lap of the race. I mean, Verstappen, I think he's still going to score points in all of this, despite the 10-second penalty. I think Verstappen might just be able to hang on for a couple of points here from Sprint Race Saturday, but drama in Shanghai. We've still got yellow flags out. I believe that is the stricken V-carb of Carlos Sainz there. Charles Leclerc through the final corner. He's going to get the next victory of his career, and for us, a sprint win will have to wait yet another weekend. We come through for P2. Well, there we go. Nico Hülkenberg, fun fact, maintains his record of only being able to score points in sprint races inside this game, and he was only able to do that because George Russell picked up a 10-second time penalty as well there. Charles Leclerc, 8 points on the board for him, will further extend his World Championship lead. Sergio Perez, I believe that technically counts as his first podium of the year. They're ahead of Norris and Fernando Alonso, but yeah, that was just drama at the end of the sprint race. I've never seen anything like that inside F1 24. The gap to Charles now up to 15 points at the top of the table. I was hoping we could do like the main Grand Prix qualifying as normal, but because I made sprint qualifying one shot, so is real qualifying. A little bit of a shame, but I guess we've got one chance to make it count yet again. Well, no time to rest then from the drama on Saturday. We are back in qualifying once again then here for the Grand Prix proper. Are we going to be able to get closer to Charles Leclerc? Are we potentially now going to be able to challenge for the GP pole lap? We built up a lot of confidence from that sprint. We know we've got a race car that can fight as well. So let's just try and deliver over 1 lap here for what might be our 3rd pole position of the year. Lewis Hamilton up at the top of the board momentarily. That would certainly be a shock for us all, but then again, we saw him have a really, really good session here, IRL in the sprint. Very different conditions, but you've got to be able to deliver no matter the weather in Formula 1 as we make our way in towards the S's. This has often been, where our teammate is very, very happy with the setup on his car, able to hang it in, but, it's absolutely on the limit. You've got to push to try and find any little bit of time you possibly can here. Again, we know we've got good straight line speed, so it is about trying to roll out onto that back straight as quickly and as effectively as you possibly can. Though we're still not that far behind Charlie. You can see, I think the AI are able to go full throttle in 4th gear there. I have to wait up until I'm in 5th before I've really got the confidence underneath me. But again, this is where the straight line speed comes in. Gaining on our teammate. Save a little bit of battery for the run out of this hairpin. Oh, a little bit of rear locking again. That's plagued us all weekend there. It looks like it's going to be a dogfight, though, between ourselves and Charles Leclerc. One more corner to go. Tip it in right on the exit curve up towards the line. P2. So close. I mean, that is the closest qualifying session we've had so far this year, and that is exactly the drama you want to see from sprint qualifying there. Most of the other drivers, though, weirdly, struggling more than they did in the sprint. Rather bizarrely, Lando, Norris, Max Verstappen, both slower than they were able to do in that other session. 1,000th of a second between the Dutchman and George Russell, but Ferrari once again then have a front row lockout ready for the Grand Prix. Haas as well, 10th and 11th place. They're looking pretty racy here, as to the surprise of perhaps nobody, Lance Stroll struggling on 1 lap pace. The same for Fred Vesti and Ollie Behrman, who find themselves right at the rear of the field.
The Chinese Grand Prix then is upon us once again. A race that saw Michael Schumacher claim his final Formula 1 victory in 2006, as well as Red Bull's first with Sebastian Vettel in 2009. There's no doubt plenty more drama to come here in Shanghai. We're here in the Yangtze River Delta today, home of the 16 corners that make up the Shanghai International Circuit. 54% of this 3.3-mile lap is taken at full throttle, and we'll be getting up to speeds of around 200 miles per hour with DRS assistance down the back straight before the cars break into the tight hairpin at turn 14. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, and Mr. Monaco completes the front row. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Norris, Verstappen, Russell, Hamilton, Perez, Oscar Piastri, Fernando Alonso, Hulkenberg, Gasly, Tsunoda, Stroll, Ricciardo, Albon, Ocon, Joe, Vesti, Behrman. Carlos Sainz will start from the back of the grid. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track.
Well, here we are then, back on the grid, ready for the Grand Prix proper, and the team throwing us a very, very odd strategy. Hard tyres for the start, and then we'll move over to mediums later on in the afternoon. I'm happy to go with that, as long as Charles Leclerc is doing the same. We don't quite know just how far the mediums will go. We struggled a little bit with them in the sprint race yesterday, so if we can get these tyres, maybe lap 16, maybe lap 17, then hopefully we will be in a good position ready for the second half of the afternoon. Of course, on the other hand, we are driving for Ferrari, so maybe Leclerc's been given a 4-stop strategy in which one set he goes on to intermediates for some reason. It is Ferrari after all. Waiting though on the grid, and it looks like we have got a split then between the team. It is 5 red lights though here in Shanghai. And it's going to be lights out, and away we go there, and I almost jumped the start, because I don't know why, because I lack talent inside this game. Immediately, Red Bull once again able to get off the line pretty well. Verstappen down the inside of Lando, Norris maybe trying to look down the inside of myself there, thinks better of it through the second part of the apex as we just tried to pinch him a little bit. Lewis Hamilton making gains as well off of turn 1, but again, we've got to keep up with Charles Leclerc here. We can't afford to let our teammate break free. It was what gifted him what in the end was quite an easy victory last time out at Suzuka, but tyre wear here is really, really difficult when there's always the chance of a safety car or a red flag, especially if Verstappen likes to go for pirouettes down the end of the back straight as well. But again, a fairly undramatic start. As we've said all season, starting at the front of the field obviously gives you less opportunities to try and make a big impact. But Leclerc, he knows his assignment. It's just to try and run away. Well, I've often said how much I like running the hard compound tyre inside this game. For whatever reason, it just works really nicely for me. And we are pulling away a little bit from Max Verstappen. He's got the DRS down this back straight. But generally speaking, we've been able to pull away from him. Looks like he's got his hands full with Lewis Hamilton of Mercedes as well. Obviously, he started on those mediums, so it might well be that we get under pressure from Hamilton and George Russell, as Leclerc does a 33.7. We only managed a 34.7. As Hamilton, I think, is probably going to fly past me pretty soon. Or he's not, because Verstappen's gone and dive-bombed him. And now we've got yellows out. I don't know what's going on. George Russell maybe has made an error? No, we got a car breaking down towards the rear of the field. A safety car would certainly throw a spanner in the works. I think that might be Ollie Behrman, who's out of the Grand Prix. Yes, it is. So, more disasters down at Williams for their new recruit. He is our first casualty of the afternoon. It's definitely taken us a bit more time to get these hard tyres up to scrub, but that being said, Leclerc, that gap is opening up by less and less each and every lap. And luckily, obviously, we know as well, Verstappen hasn't got the legs on me down the straight, even when he's got DRS, unless he wants to dive it on me and then spin himself out. And the inside goes the Dutchman. This is not really what we want at the moment.
We could still regain the position.
Oh, I really tried to squeeze him there through the final corner. There was a little bit of contact, so I had to try and turn in for an earlier apex than I wanted. I'm sure the Dutchman, again, is going to try and attack down towards turn 1. Luckily, though, we'll hang on, though, but this does not bode well. In terms of Leclerc getting away, it worked for him at Suzuka because Verstappen and I battled, and it's working again. Oh, this time around I'm not convinced we're going to be able to keep Max at bay, just using a little bit too much battery at the moment. You can see that Red Bull again. When I have to come off the battery, I mean, he's very, very confident on the brakes as well, which is not very useful. Max Verstappen down the inside this time around. We've got to work together a little bit here. It's either we don't work together and I let Charles Leclerc win, or we work together and potentially we let the Dutchman win. I think I know which one Ferrari would rather we do right now, so that's exactly why we're going to try and get back to the inside, ready for turn 1. Oh, a bit of a send on the way in, tip the car just over the grass, but we find the grip. Back down the inside we'll go. Oh, again, Max Verstappen, he just does not get the assignment right now, does he? Down the inside again goes the Dutchman. This time around Hamilton as well, thinking about trying to get involved.
Lost the position, that's us down a place.
I mean, surely, yeah, this is just playing into Charles Leclerc's hand right now, but also, got to remember, we should have quite a big advantage later on.
0.9 seconds.
Hard tyres do last pretty well here. I mean, we're just halfway through the stint, and they're only at 30% wear, so we should be able to get into sort of 16, 17 if we needed. Or do we gamble and wait for like a safety car or something like that? Okay, then, this has been the first lap this race where I think we've actually taken a little bit of time out of Charles Leclerc. So I think those medium tyres starting just to give up the ghost slightly. I would have thought he'll have to get them at least another couple of laps. So if we can start bringing down this gap just a little bit, we might be in the fight later on. Staggered that we've seen none of our medium compound runners into the pit lane then at the end of lap 12. They all seem to be able to keep them going just a little bit longer here. And annoyingly for me, Charles Leclerc not only able to keep them going, but keeping them going and still pulling away from me in this Grand Prix. There comes a point where you have to no longer blame the tyres and say that the reason Charles is quicker than me at the moment is simply because he's faster this weekend. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but I'm not convinced even once we do switch that we're really going to gain much on him. He is just so fast in that car right now, and especially with Verstappen and I tripping over each other, it might just gift him another 25 points. It might not also help that I'm trying to record this race in the middle of a heatwave here in the UK. I'm genuinely sweating so much. It is unbelievable. It's actually making it difficult to concentrate. Here goes Verstappen. Surely we're going to see Leclerc in the pits. Oh, the Dutchman again locks up and tries to cut across my nose. There goes Charles into the pit lane. So Verstappen is going to become the new race leader. Hopefully not for very long though, as well. We're definitely starting to push these tyres. I want to try and get him to sort of lap 15, lap 16 at the very earliest, but if we have a look back down the inside of Max, Charles has been able to take those mediums longer than I thought he would. Well, I guess the only thing then that might help us here is the fact that Leclerc has come out in a little bit of traffic. I think that's behind Hulkenberg and probably Lance Stroll. He's still got a big train of cars behind us. It's been a bit odd where we've been able to manage the gap to Verstappen right most of this stint. It's actually meant that no one else can really make an impact behind, as George Russell peeling into the pit lane then.
This lap, gap to your teammate behind, 0.9 seconds.
I can't help but feel, yeah, this is still one lap too early to be making the pit stop. But I'm also very conscious of being undercut as well. But I think we're going to see lots of cars into the pit lane at the end of this lap, and I think one of them is going to be Max Verstappen.
Tyres around now, so just be careful.
He seemed desperate to get past me there this time round before the hairpin, and much more straight line speed than we've often seen by the Red Bull driver. Are we going to see him peel in? We want to go one lap longer. I can't afford to risk it. So there we go. Verstappen in. I think Oscar Piastri in. No, Lando Norris, sorry, is into the pits as well. So hopefully we're not going to be under too much pressure this lap. But this has got to be an absolute worldie. Well, Verstappen, I can see on the mini-map, I think has just come out behind one of the Mercs. But that not be the end of the world for him. Because, of course, he'll get the DRS down the back straight. And obviously he's got to still try and build up temperature in his tyres. Speaking about temperature in our tyres, that big wheel spin moment for myself. As we might be vulnerable now to Oscar Piastri, I'm not convinced this strategy was the right way to go. Especially once we found out what everybody else was doing. Down the inside goes the Australian. And yeah, I haven't really seen much of him so far this year, apart from that late race battle back in Bahrain. Perez almost gets himself involved as well. As we make our way then down into the pit lane. All of your top runners into the pits. Oh, a little bit of contact there with Oscar. Just got to try and make sure we get the car slowed down. Just about.
Overtakes or we'll get a penalty. Okay, forget the targets for now. We've got to focus on the pit stop.
Annoyingly, yeah, I failed that objective, despite the fact we were probably still going to do it even with pitting. Come on, go! Go! What was that? We've come out behind Perez now. Leclerc's gone. We're going to be behind Verstappen as well, I'm sure. But what on earth is that? The team don't even warn me that we're having an issue in the pit lane here. As there goes Verstappen, there goes Norris, there goes Hamilton.
I know it's not ideal, but let's try and put that behind us now and get back into this race. Okay, stay clear of the white line on the exit. We'll receive a penalty for dangerous driving if you cross onto the track.
It's not very useful information when we're already making our way through turn 2, Mark, but we have been well and truly Ferrari'd, perhaps for the first time this season. And now we've got a lot of work to do. Watching then as Lando Norris and George Russell go side by side. Hamilton has actually really put himself in quite a good spot here to try and hang on towards the end of the afternoon. As much as I don't want it to happen, I'm slightly concerned that our podium streak might come to an end here, admittedly.
Make use of the overtake button and see what you can do.
If you include the sprints, I think there was 8 podiums in a row. As look at that, Russell again. Down the inside of Lando Norris back at the first corner. Perez and Piastri having just a watch on, but we won't do the same there. Around the outside of 1. Ah, that was not great. We kind of launched it on the throttle down the inside of Oscar. I think we'll give him back up the place there. Luckily, no damage for either of us. Perez again tries to have a look for it, but yeah, we kind of launched it in. I thought Oscar maybe would spot us there, but apparently not. Right, come on then. Are we going to see Piastri try and fight George Russell? We're certainly going to try and go for it. We've got the straight line speed. There's the Merc there. I just saw temporarily didn't have his DRS flap open, so not too sure what that was all about. Down the inside of Oscar Piastri. A little bit more of a fair move that time. A little bit of wheel banging, actually, at the last moment.
Good job.
I mean, Oscar's sent it to the inside there, like over the curb. And now we picked up damage. Wonderful. Well, hopefully that's not the end of the world. This down the inside of George Russell will go as well. One rogue dive bomb isn't going to stop me from trying to pull off another. As around the outside, we're going to be up in towards the S's.
Okay, let's try and climb up the order. I'm setting you a new target. Push, push.
Lando Norris then is our new target here. Of course, he was going to be our next target anyway, but we could be still in for a good battle for the podium between us, Norris and Hamilton. Okay, we can see Verstappen and Hamilton then having a bit of a battle further up the road. Hamilton, it has been a worthwhile fight and an interesting strategy by Mercedes that has almost paid off for them. Just can't help but feel, yeah, they got a little bit screwed over, stuck in that train with the hard compound runners early on. They were able to gain the advantage through the undercut, but now towards the end of the race, they're really struggling. We've got to try and get past Lando Norris pretty soon, but I'm sure Hamilton will fall back into our clutches. It could well be that our big three in the championship again end up being our big three come the final race result. Well, I guess the big one for Hamilton then is, can he stay inside the range of Max Verstappen? I don't think he is. Lando Norris, you cannot move around like that. Lay it on in the braking zone. I'd already tried to commit to the inside. We just had to get very, very early on the anchors there to to make sure we didn't run into the back of the McLaren. I think, yeah, we can visually see that Hamilton is not in the range of Max Verstappen. Annoyingly, I thought that was Leclerc in front. It's not. It's one of the Saubers.
Hit that target. Really good job.
So I'm sending it into turn 1. Lando and I know what's at stake here late on in the day. And we just about make it through. Next up, Lewis Hamilton. In many ways, I'm quite happy that's Fred Vesti in the Sauber car just in front, because if Zhou Guanyu on his return to Shanghai was going to be near enough a lap down on practically every other car, Verstappen is not out in front. Mark again. That is still our teammate Charles Leclerc that's leading the races. Come on, Vesti. I know you're a Mercedes Junior in real life. He's actually got some car damage there, so that would explain his lack of pace. Does get out of the way in the end, but just wondered there whether Mercedes would have told him just sit in the way for a little while longer. And again, Lewis Hamilton is another driver we haven't seen too much of so far this season.
That overtake button a bit more.
Mercedes haven't been slow by any stretch, but they certainly haven't had the pace to really fight at the front. I guess it's also, you know, you really think we haven't actually spent much time kind of in the pack. Don't think we really saw Lewis since lap 1 in Bahrain, looking back at it now, to be honest. But hopefully we're about to get a run on him down the back straight, and annoyingly, that pit stop blunder by the team, I think, is going to be the difference maker between us and Max Verstappen as well. But 4 laps to go of the Chinese Grand Prix. Honestly, I'm just willing the laps down at this point. Perez has got a 10-second time penalty. Not sure what he's done to warrant that, but surely now we're going to get a run on Lewis Hamilton and a return back to the podium places once again. You can go defensive on me, Lewis. It's pretty pointless at the moment. You could have had this car, but decided against it. Around the outside we'll go. And finally back up into P3.
Great pass.
Leclerc 13 seconds up the road. Max Verstappen 3 seconds up the road. Are we going to be able to challenge the Dutchman? Well, I tell you what's worrying me at the moment. With just over 2 laps to go, we are not pulling away from Hamilton. In fact, look at this. Our fellow Brit there trying to look back down the inside, down at the final couple of corners, and, well, suddenly our podium doesn't look so safe.
Focus.
I really want to go side by side into that final corner once again. May learn from that mistake. Battling with Oscar Piastri here, but Verstappen, he's gone. Nothing we can do about him, but I want to do everything within my power to make sure we keep on to our podium streak. Well, I hate to think what state these tyres would have been in had I boxed 1 lap earlier, because they are absolutely wrecked right now. Hamilton able to pull away from me, only helped, of course, by how ridiculously fast this car is in a straight line. To the outside of the Merc again, but not getting the speed scrubbed off down at the hairpin. Are we going to be able to switch him off there? Just really trying to upset his line in towards the final corner. Yes, we will. And Lewis Hamilton there again will get alongside him side by side as we start the last lap of the Grand Prix. We had drama back at Japan, battling with Lando Norris towards the checkered flag. Pretty much every race so far this year has had a dramatic conclusion. In fact, I think every single one has. The only one where we weren't battling a car wheel to wheel was obviously back in Jeddah, but every other race we have battled it out with different rivals each and every weekend. Of course, we haven't got to worry about Sergio Perez a bit further back. He's got a 10-second penalty as Hamilton again having a look down the inside there. I'm happy to let him by as long as we make sure we've got the DRS around the other part of the lap. As down the inside into the S as we go. Hamilton thinks better of it. Maybe just heard what I said, and we'll try and keep that DRS for himself there. Charles Leclerc, though, I mean, questions I'm going to be asking down at Ferrari after this. I felt like they put on a much better strategy than they were willing to do for me today, which is a little bit of a shame, I'll be honest, but
5.5 seconds.
Oh, that was not ideal. That was really not ideal. Terrible position in the car, but yeah, like I was saying, I think the team, they need to answer why on earth they put Leclerc on so much of a better strategy than me today. But we saw a dominant Leclerc back in 2022. He had a tendency to bottle races, though. This season, he is absolutely in control as Hamilton. He hasn't got enough on the final lap of the Grand Prix as Charles Leclerc will get win number 3 of the year on the board, all conquering this weekend here in Shanghai. Max Verstappen P2, and through the final corner, we're going to hang on just, only just, for yet another podium.
Yes, nice work, mate. You did a really good job today. Pretty sure the boss is going to be happy with that one.
What a drive! What a driver! Charles Leclerc takes the victory!
and they're just starting to make it look easy out there. Now a hat-trick of wins. They're out there ahead, they've got the momentum on their side, and it's for the others now to try and up their game to stop that energy that they have.
And here we are, a team that is no stranger to the podium, taking their place on top once again. A sublime race today, and a stunning win for Ferrari.
Charles Leclerc then almost the full 34 points from the weekend here in Shanghai, but I certainly don't think he can complain with the race result in the end. He barely saw any other cars. It was absolutely all-conquering once more there, and still the Ferrari podiums live on. 10 podiums from the first 5 races of the campaign. We have been absolutely unstoppable as a team. But yeah, just starting to feel that Ferrari may be favouring the Monegasque driver over myself there. And I guess Lec Ver B is the new Hambot Ver in the world of Formula 1 as well. Because once again, it is us 3 rounding out the podium there. Hamilton beats out Russell and Lando Norris, with Perez, Piastri, Ricciardo and Gasly getting his first points for Haas on the board as well there. Aston Martin, I'm sure a little bit gutted there, no points to talk about at the end of the race. Championship-wise, Leclerc now with a 25-point lead over myself, so he's got that little bit of a margin in the pocket. We have got 30 over Verstappen and 50 over Lando Norris there, as he, Perez, Piastri, Alonso, Hamilton, Russell all seem to be trying to claim the scraps off each other. Carlos Sainz, though, another very consistent runner so far, all the way up in P10. And just now, Ocon, Behrman and the Kick Saubers are the only ones yet to score points so far this year. Constructors-wise, we have almost got twice the points of Red Bull still, 108 for them, 105 behind us, with McLaren still ahead of Mercedes and Aston Martin. But thank you all so much for watching. Let me know down in the comments below what you felt about the new qualifying format as well. I really enjoyed it, and hopefully it'll be here to stay in the future. But we'll be back Monday then for our second sprint race weekend in a row. We'll return in Miami.